Hello and welcome everybody to the first ever episode of Get It Together, a show for fledgling adults trying to make it through the big wide world, hosted by young people who are figuring it out too. I'm your host Declan.
And I'm your host Ruth. In this series we're going to do the investigating to get you started on becoming the real world adult, and there are going to be some interesting people to help us along our way. Whether a friend has shown you our show or you've stumbled across it on the internet, we warmly welcome you to get it together with us.
Join us in the coming weeks as we explore making the most of your right to vote, the red flags, green flags, myths and taboos of modern relationships, and finally, how to have a good time out with your mates in this current climate of drugs. But this week, Ruth, we're talking money.
That we are. So tonight we're going to look at tax, superannuation, employment benefits, and how to make them all work for you.
That sounds a bit dry.
It should be that bad. We're going to add in some extra flavour to it, and I hope that pictures will help, so check this out.
I like pictures.
Cool.
So you've gotten a job. Money's going to start flowing in, but how much money and what are you going to do with it? Australia currently holds bragging rights for the highest minimum wage in the world, which as of the first day of this 2019-2020 financial year, July 1st, sits at $19.49 per hour before tax. In Australia, employment industries determine the pay of its employees by government-instated modern awards, which can vary from state to state. The current national minimum wage order outlines the minimum wage rates for employee types such as adults, in some cases at different rates according to experience and qualifications, juniors, trainees and apprentices, employees whom training arrangements apply, and employees with a disability. Furthermore, casual employees covered by the national minimum wage also get at least a 25% casual loading. This is an additional hourly rate that casual workers are paid, which is determined by the award or agreement that covers the job. On that note, penalty rates are when an employee works late nights, early mornings, weekends, and public holidays. Penalty rates vary from each industry and job, such as hospitality, fast food, pharmacy, etc. For example, if you're working at Macca's and they call you to work from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., then you would be paid penalty rates for working late nights and early mornings. This goes for overtime rates as well. The only condition that differs overtime to penalty rates is that it comes into effect when you have worked for more than 38 hours a week or outside ordinary hours. Under a modern award, the wages for each classification are the lowest possible wage rate, which means that the employer cannot pay employees any lower than the minimum wage outlined in their respective award. And your employer needs to check the minimum wage rates every new financial year, as it could have been reassessed and changed by the Fair Work Commission. An example of a wage would be a primary education teacher who's studied for 4 years, worked in a school for 2 years or less, and is currently working in a school full-time. They would earn $25.98 per hour minimum. This would mean their employer could not pay them under $25.98, or it would infringe on the modern award classification. Your award can be calculated here with this website. However, minimum wage can be just one benefit of working in the Australian employment industry. Another is knowing the benefits and entitlement of your employment status. When transitioning from a casual worker to a permanent employee, it can be easy for employers to take advantage of you by continuing to treat you as a casual worker. Knowing the difference is important. A helpful tip is to go visit the national government website fairworth.gov.au, which holds plenty of information in regard to your pay rate, penalty rates, entitlements, benefits, and your award. The responsibility of an income comes with the responsibility of banking. There are many banks which can be overwhelming. However, the variety of banks results in a range of options. The best thing to start with is a savings account. A good savings account can actually make you money thanks to a double-edged sword called interest. When there's money in your account, interest should accumulate by a function called per annum, which means per year, but is commonly paid monthly, therefore there can be a few decimal points. The trick to figuring it out can be seen here. Della has $4,000 in savings, and her savings account with the Bank of Accruing Money pays her an interest rate of 1.2% per annum. When you divide the 1% by 12, you get the monthly interest rate. Then divide that by 100 to make it not a percentage, and finally multiply that with the contents of the account to get your interest payment for the month. Della's account, like many savings accounts, also includes a bonus interest rate when she does not remove money during the period of that month. Her bonus 0.9% rate makes that month's interest pay 2.1% per annum. Following the same method, her monthly interest becomes $7.01. You can compare any and all the bank's accounts that take your fancy on websites like CanStar or Rate City. The way our government collects and reinvests wealth in our economy is through taxes, and you barely notice you're already paying them. Progressive tax is the design relative to income and is the method of taxing higher incomes at a higher percentage. Individual income tax in the 2019-2020 financial year was 0% for an income under $18,200, 19 cents for each $1 over $18,200, and $3,572 plus 32.5 cents for each $1 over $37,000. Regressive taxes are the opposite because it taxes uniformly, and so lower incomes are taxed at a higher percentage, such as goods and services tax, which is 10% and applies to most purchasable items and services in Australia. Let's crunch the numbers. Philip earns $36,400 per year. Lisa earns $52,000 per year. Philip taxed $1 for every 19 cents over $18,200 pays $3,458. Lisa taxed $3,572 plus $1 for every 32.5 cents over $37,000 pays $8,447, nearly 2.5 times as much as Philip. But when Philip and Lisa both buy $100 worth of groceries that are not GST free for every week of the year, they both spend $5,200. So Philip spends almost 15% of his income on groceries, whereas Lisa spends only 10% of her income on groceries, and so 5% more of Philip's income is taxed than Lisa's. Bernard earns $15,600 a year and gets fortnightly youth allowance installments, and so he doesn't have to pay income tax. But Bernard also buys $5,200 worth of groceries every year and therefore spends 33% of his income on groceries. Bernard needs to crush his energy drink addiction. All the best with your financial well-being. Sincerely, get it together.
You're right, that definitely made things a lot easier. Still a lot to get my head around though.
Yeah, luckily, that's why we have our Instagram and Facebook. If anyone wants to catch up with any particularly juicy segments, give us a like and a follow and keep up to date with all of our news.
Now is the point in our show where we take to the streets and ask the big questions. Sarah, our field reporter, questioned the public on how they spend their money and whether or not they're clever about it.
So what is the most important expense that you make?
I would think shoes. I love shoes.
Rent.
Food. Well, I would say the same. My groceries.
Health. Definitely what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my body, it matters more because later I don't want to pay hospital bills, do I?
And what about for you?
Yeah, I feel a similar thing, like food.
Oh, probably rent, because it's where I live.
Cars? Probably a bad answer, but...
And what about for you?
Food, medicine, basic living things.
Which payment do you prioritize first? Entertainment, living, food, or transport?
It will be living, obviously.
Living.
Probably entertainment, unfortunately. Or food. Food's a lot.
I think I spend the most on living because that's where all my money goes.
Yeah, same rent, like living.
I probably spend the most money on living.
Oh, well, transport is my entertainment. I'm like a mechanic, so.
And what about for you?
Food.
Do you have a budget?
Not really. I don't remember the last time I made a budget for myself. I just spend money.
Yes.
Yes.
Not very well.
I think so. I think I'd say yes.
Yes. Do I stick to it? No. Same.
I try to, but I don't hold to it very well.
Recently, yes. But
I worked as a financial planner for a while, so yes.
What's an expense that you make that you probably shouldn't?
Shoes still.
Alcohol.
Eating out way more than I should.
Probably drinks.
Anything that's pretty. Can I afford it? No.
And do you think that you could live on $100 a week?
Definitely.
No. There is no way you could rent.
Yeah, definitely not if it included that's more than my rent. So I wouldn't even have food, let alone a house.
Absolutely not. I usually do.
That's not even enough for rent, so not really.
no.
Yes. Have no.
I mean, I'm just so glad that someone didn't say like spending money on episode. I mean, that's my thing. I'm spending so much money getting extra gems to get ahead of that.
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
I also noticed a lot of them had trouble with their budgets and not sticking to them. But luckily we have a segment coming up later in the show that could help out with just that.
That's true, but that's much later. But first, take a look at Discount Safari. So my friend and I got together and we set a challenge up for ourselves. In 3 different categories, we had to find the cheapest way and the ways to afford that. So check it out. Hi guys, so our mission today is to get an outfit together, get some art and buy some food for as cheap as possible. To help me today, I've got my friend Monty.
Hi Ruth. Yeah, so we're going to have a lot of fun together today as we try and find the cheapest way to buy some everyday items.
Yep, so you'll be going to the more traditional and frugal way of going to op shops and farmers markets, whereas I'm going to try and find the cheapest way to shop at big name stores. Afterwards we'll come together and we'll compare the prices. See you later. So I started with food. I got the catalogue the week before and really tried looking at all the different specials and finding the whole recipe based on the foods that were on special to not break the bank. I then moved on to different home and lifestyle stores trying to find art supplies. I found some brushes and I even got a bigger discount on the paints because they were a bit damaged. While making them I realised that it was actually a lot more fun. I genuinely had fun creating them. So I've got my supplies and I'm ready to get to work. This is what I've made. It was so much fun and you can do this at home yourself. So everyone knows about online shopping, but what you don't know is that it can be cheaper. For a lot of the websites that I went on, you can actually plug in your email and they'll give you a discount at checkout. However, for this one, I used a coupon generator where other people used coupons on the site and the extension browser took over, gave me massive discounts and some fun outfits.
So I kicked off my day today by heading to the farmers market where I picked up some fresh vegetables and some fish before then heading over to the op shops where I managed to grab a couple cute different outfits for the challenge tonight and I even managed to pick up some art. So first off for my home cooked meal I'm going to get some fish. Another one of my favourite things about farmers markets is picking up a sweet treat to have while you shop.
Oh, it's so hot!
So once I was finished at the farmers market today, it was time to hit up some op shops. I went to a few just around town and I managed to find some really amazing buys, including an outfit that was absolutely perfect for this challenge. This is cute. And I even got really lucky by finding the most beautiful piece of art from the op shop that was absolutely perfect for this challenge, so I didn't even need to go to a third place. So now I'm going to head home and I'm going to cook up my lovely home cooked meal, and we're going to see who did better in the challenge.
So our tummies are full, our outfits are ready to go, and we've got some cool art pieces.
Right, Ruth, but who won?
So, interview with us now, we have Money.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, thanks for coming in. So, how did you go with everything? What did you find fun? What?
I had a really great time this week. I think my favourite part was, so I went to the farmers markets and I headed to some charity shops to grab everything for the challenge. And I think I really liked how personal everything was and that I knew exactly where my money was going. It was a really wholesome, authentic experience.
And Ruth, what was your favourite part of the challenge?
I liked making the art. I said it in the vox pop, but I honestly had so much more fun. And, you know, I feel like you make the home and you actually make the art pieces that go in it rather than just buying it from stores and stuff like that. It's someone else's art that gets put into it.
Did you guys' meals taste good?
I liked mine.
Mine was definitely better.
Oh, I mean,
hands down, 100%.
whatever. So, what did you spend for all of yours?
Okay, so my overall total was $47.50, whereas you came in at $52.45.
Wow, so is that, wow.
That makes me the winner.
So you, I was hoping she'd win.
I don't know. Trying to add that up in my head, didn't work. I'm like, oh, carry the
Checking
five.
the math, making sure she's not lying.
Yeah, that's why I use phones.
That's
the
right.
calculators on that one.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
When in doubt, use a calculator.
Always, like, it beats trying to actually count it in your head, because apparently I can't figure out where the number 4 comes into place. So, do you have any saving tips for any of your viewers?
As a matter of fact, I do. I have a personal mantra that I like to follow. It's the wise words of Anderson .Paak in his song, Bubblin' Apostrophe. He says, one in the hand, one in the bag, bubblin'. And I think it's a good thing for me to do, because it's like the amount that you earn, you also have that equal amount saved, so that you spend this amount and you save that amount, so you're constantly building up a savings.
That's true. It's a really good point. I just love the fact that you've quoted a song. But if that was confusing at all, or you might need some extra help figuring out what to put into your budget or why budget is important, check this one out.
A budget is like a budgie. Budgets can be hard for people to have because they've never taken care of a budgie before. Well, in order to have a budgie, first you must adopt one. After you've adopted your budgie, it's your responsibility to nurture and take care of it. Step 1. You must buy a cage for your budgie. This cage will be their saving grace, keeping them nice and cozy. But in order to keep your budgie comfortable, you must maintain their cage. Your budgie will thrive if its cage is regularly filled with water. Your budgie will thrive if its cage is regularly filled with food. And your budgie will thrive if its cage is maintained. In order to do this, you must create a maintenance schedule and stick to it. And that brings us to step 2. Now that you've got your budgie and your cage, you need to stick to your maintenance schedule. This means scheduling when you buy your budgie food and when you buy it toys. Because if you pay for it all at once, it's going to hurt your budgie and you. If you set up a system, it won't hurt your budgie. For example, you can pay for its food halfway through the month and its toys at the end of the month. Or you can pay for it fortnightly. And pet shops are very flexible about how you pay. But you better make sure that you pick a pet shop which is the cheapest and provides the greatest customer service. Now that you know how to pay for your budgie, it's time to teach it a few things. As much as your budgie wants unlimited freedom, you need to set boundaries. If your budgie eats outside too often, then you're wasting money on food. Or if your budgie flies outside too often, it'll never be in its cage where it is the safest. Now, let's teach your budgie some tricks. It is time to set goals for your budgie. You can teach it to sing by dedicating time and effort. But you must be aware of realistic goals, because your budgie ain't gonna fly a plane. And don't compare your budgie to other people's budgies, because it'll make you resent your budgie. It's your budgie, you need to take care of your budgie. If you need a helping hand, there's multiple apps and websites to help you. We all know budgies can be hard work, but a loved and nurtured budgie is a happy, fat, singing budgie. Take care of yours and you can see what you can gain from your budgie. And remember, there's a chance that your budgie can always poop on your head. Anyways, that's how you help.
I mean, if nothing else went in there, there's a great you drinking game. Every time budgie was said in that, I definitely think that would be a great night out, or at least for free.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just... I really need to clean my budgie's cage.
Right. So now we're going to welcome our friend to the show. We have a tax consultant named Michael John Dow who's to answer some questions for us. So
cool.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good.
Cool.
So first question, what advice do you have about HEX Help loans?
HEX Help. So HEX Help is obviously a Commonwealth supported loan from the government to help you pay your tuition fees. Sorry, I had a mind blank there. Tuition fees. Obviously, it doesn't take to accommodation or textbook. It's just for the fees, the tuition fees, and the government pays it directly to the education place that you're studying. There's multiple criteria, but the main two are it has to be a Commonwealth supported place and you have to be an Australian citizen. I see a lot of people who are working, and when they start they get their degree and they start their working with their company, they can be asked to do salary sacrifice or do some fringe benefits. Like if you work for the Queensland Health, you can do rent and you can do a salary sacrifice or fringe benefits for a computer and stuff like that. That all gets...
So does that differ from past generations and what they used to have to do for
No,
it?
it's been there a few years, but mainly people used to always put as much as they could on fringe benefits because they didn't have to, because it wasn't accessible. Now it's accessible. So if you go and do fringe benefits, it gets taxed before HEX. So it's obviously it's a fringe benefit. So if you're earning $50,000 gross and you salary sacrifice or fringe benefits $15,000, technically you would think your salary is $35,000. But when the laws changed, they take it as $50,000, and because you're not getting taxed on it, you're not paying HEX on it. So you come and do your taxes. You sit there and your payment summary will show that you earned $35,000, and like that they showed before, you might have paid $8,000 tax, where technically with HEX you'll be assessed on the whole $50,000. So you've got to be careful.
So the $50,000 there is the accessible income there?
Yes, the accessible income,
cool.
yeah. Not the taxable income, the accessible income, yeah. That's what you'll be taxed on. So on HEX, sorry, yeah.
What's the difference between the taxable?
So accessible is, so you earned $50,000, and if you're, say you're an air hostess, then you can have things called deductions. So an air hostess can claim moisturiser, and they can claim stockings, where they're really the only ones that can. So they come and do their tax. They've earned $50,000. They might have spent $2,000 on moisturiser and stockings throughout the year. That deducts off their $50,000, and their taxable income becomes $48,000. That's what you pay tax on.
So tax
not the
deductions depend on what
salary,
job you have.
Has salary, yeah. So if you're in construction, you can claim safety boots, steel cap safety boots, high vis clothing, vests, or drill pants and things like that. Yeah. So it depends on what your salary is. Where general everyday person maybe works for the public servant, they're not going to really have anything because the public servant gives them all the stationery and pens and all that kind of stuff and PPE. Yeah, just depends. Yeah.
Right. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So you just got to be mindful when you go and get your job and you start. If you get asked to salary sacrifice or pay things fringe benefits, just think about getting extra tax taken out to cover your HECS debt. Yeah.
Okay.
And when it comes to people moving out of home, like I'm sure a lot of us...
Youth allowance, yep.
Yeah, what preparations need to be made for that process?
So you really have to think about if you're living at home or away from home. At home, you have to take your parents' salary into account, or the government takes your parents' salary into account on how much you get paid. I'll just tell you, there's two rates: a living at home and living away, and it ranges from dependent youth at home is $288 a week, a fortnight at March 17, but a dependent living at home, if you've got you live at Dalby and you come and study at Griffith, and you obviously have to live away from home, they take it in that you're living here on your own, and the rate is $437.50.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just depends. If you are living at home and you apply for youth allowance, it takes into your account, it reduces by the way how much your parents earn. Yeah, and also it's also accessible. So you can be working at Kmart part time and earn $18,000. So you're not going to be taxed because you're under the tax-free threshold as you showed earlier.
Okay.
If you get youth allowance, which could be an extra $5,000, you're going to be taxed. Where if you don't get you won't be taxed on both because you won't get it from your youth allowance, and if say you work for Kmart won't tax you because you're going to be under the tax-free threshold, but cumulative you will be paying tax. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for all those points.
Thank
Definitely
you.
given us a lot to think about.
Cool.
But thanks for coming in, and
Cool.
yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mikey.
Fine.
Thank you first and foremost. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you first and foremost to our live audience here tonight. Thank you to our interviewees. And remember, you too can be a part of our audience. Check out our Facebook and Instagram to find out how.
Thank you also to the online viewers. If you're still here with us, there must have been something that you liked. So give us a like and a follow while you're there. Leave a message and comment below and tell us the best piece you've heard and the money advice you've heard. And if you have any more questions, don't be afraid to ask. Someone out there must have some answers.
That's right. But until that's you, at least try to get it together.
Thank you.